Good afternoon po sa lahat. In behalf of my colleagues in China, we would like to make a presentation on the market, its trends, the opportunities and challenges that exporters will face if they do want to sell their goods to China. Um, I will be assisted by ably by my colleague in FTSC, and I hope that you will bear with me because the connection in China is weak. So if I do drop, please I will reconnect. Okay. So going forward, my first slide will say that China is the Philippines' major market and investor. In 2020, it's our number one export market that we were able to sell $18.7 billion worth of goods, which accounts for 29.3% of the share. Because of the COVID pandemic, it registered at a negative 3.95% decrease year on year. It is also our second source of investments, which, and of course, we would like to look at it as a joint effort between China, the mainland, and Hong Kong, which is one of their independent territories. In 2020, from January to September, it registered around 15 billion pesos worth of investments, which is a 20% share of all combined investments from overseas, which represents a 382% growth year on year. Now, why are we the apple of the eyes of China? Now, firstly, it is because China has adopted a reformist policy. Second, it has adopted the Belt and Road Initiative, and also, of course, because of the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which everyone who I have met here in China looks forward to. It offers a lot of opportunities. It offers a lot of possibilities. That is if we are open to dealing, trading, and receiving investments from China. Next slide, please. Okay, total exports to China, which is again mainland and Hong Kong, accounts for 52% uh, mainland and 48% Hong Kong. But of course, those that are sent to Hong Kong end up mainly or to the mainland China as well. As you can see, Guangzhou is the recipient of the majority of exports to China, which accounts to around 46%, whereas Shanghai receives around 33%, okay, of the share. Imports wise, the Philippines buys a lot from Guangzhou, which is around 46%, and Shanghai around 40%. Beijing, which is a administrative capital, is usually where all the governmental functions happen, and so it also accounts for 21% and 30% respectively. Next, please. You can see here uh, the priority provinces and cities in China. Guangdong, where Guangzhou is located, is actually the biggest market, no, which accounts for 6 billion and 693,721,000 US dollars worth of goods, followed by Jiangsu province, Zhejiang province, and then Shanghai. Okay, as you can see, Guangdong dominates most of the trade in the Greater Bay Area. Next, please. Now, what are the major market trends in China at the current? The Chinese economy, after the lockdown that happened in 2019, which happened actually only for almost 4 months. And we account that from January, which is the end of the Chinese New Year, until May, when the school children started going back to their classrooms. They actually had a slowdown, but then the GDP rebounded and grew by 2.3% in 2020. What is the current state of the pandemic in China? Besides from the actual resumption of both trade investments, they have not allowed foreigners actually to come in, which are outside of trade and investments. Okay, so those things, as long as you are a trader or an investor, you will be allowed. However, subject to very strict quarantine procedures, which is actually 14 days lockdown on a government facility, and then a further 7-day quarantine at your own home. If you do not have a home in China, if you desire to enter China, then you will have to be quarantined for at least 22 days. Now, um, what is also another major market trend? There is a growing middle class market in China. In fact, when the pandemic was happening, what was very much in the forefront were delivery of goods and services. The people would not go out of their house, but they would still get their groceries. They would still get specialized services like those that require repairs for their houses, those that are public service, for instance. Those were all being continually done by their government, which now also made the infrastructure possible, that such that they had no difficulties. They had no difficulties at all when they were implementing their policies during the pandemic. Now, there were new consumption models for sure. One was, of course, we all know online shopping. Even in the Philippines, we have a lot of online shopping, but this one was stepped up. The mobile payment, and I will explain this later, was phenomenal. Most of the transactions, you can use your cell phone just to peruse, buy, pay, have it delivered, and then go to the next transaction. Only with one cell phone and with what they call the mini apps, which is actually the applications for the specific stores. They have both online and offline integration. What is this? If you buy online, okay, you can have it delivered, and there will be boxes similar to PPO boxes of old, and then you can just go down and collect your goods by pressing the passwords set by the vendor through your chat. So it's really possible for you to never step outside of your building, and essentially get the goods from specific boxes within your community. Now, of course, this would not be possible if they had a very robust cross-border e-commerce infrastructure. Now, we also see that another major trend another major trend is the opening of services as the next area of growth. Next slide, please. Now, as I said, there was a rise of e-commerce platform. This was veritably led by Taobao to their Tmall, JD.com, which is Jingdong, and Alibaba.com. Before these three before the pandemic, they were already present. But with the pandemic happening, sales soared, and I mean everyone just started buying and using the e-commerce platform, and effectively they could order goods, they could order inputs, they could order anything even from outside of China, and still receive it because they had a very efficient logistics to both deliver and receive goods. Okay, they were using WeChat Pay and they were using Alipay. These are the two main payment platforms used in China, which is similar to GCash, except that the WeChat and Alipay are connected directly to their bank accounts. So if you do pay, you must have funds in your bank account, so it acts like a debit card. So instead of having a physical card, you have your cell phone now actually with the QR codes, or having passwords that you can even pay anything from from if you go down in services to the people, you can actually get one person to have his personal QR code, scan his QR code, pay him using WeChat Pay or Alipay, and that's what happens in cabs. That's what happens in people who does services for the people who were in the lockdown of the pandemic. Okay, um, China has a different internet. How would you say? Um, uh, a different internet um, area of responsibility. Why would I say this? Because outside of China, you cannot get Facebook, you cannot get YouTube, you cannot get services unless you are using a very private network, the VPNs. But inside of China, you have such websites like Bilibili, uh, QQ. You have the video commerce. You have the virtual influencers. You have live streaming. All of this is happening in their own brand of internet. Okay. In fact, if you go outside of China, you will not find their internet outside. You will only see it in China. Now, I would like to point out that in their advanced state of internet, they now have AI powered avatars or advanced intelligence powered avatars. Why are they using AI powered avatars? Because they are scandal free. Like for instance, influencers are usually people who are followed by other people, but they usually have to be the ones using the products without being paid to use the products. That is why they're influencers. So sometimes they get into scandals because they are actually endorsing products which the companies pay for, and they have to endorse these products. So using AI powered avatars, the companies actually avoid these scandals, and therefore they have the avatars have their own followers and are actually more believable, more reliable than actual people or these virtual influencers. Next slide, please. Okay. In terms of our priorities, I think we already have a list given to us by Capital, which is for the Philippine priorities is agribusiness, aerospace parts. These are all the priorities of post in China on what to look for in terms of trade and as well as for investments. So this includes construction, transport, logistics, IT, BPM, tourism, shipbuilding, which in addition now is the COVID-19 medical pharma goods and services as well as digital economy. Next slide please. Okay, in the next 3 years, what do we expect? Okay, companies should look at developing new markets in China. If you have a product which you know will sell in the US, that you know will sell in Europe, you should look at China as also one of your markets. Why? Because the Chinese are trend followers, no? So they know what's happening outside of China, and they also want the same to they also want to enjoy the same in China. Now, they have also, you must have a global layout for investment risk, diversification. You have to diversify. If you put all your eggs in one basket, that would not be optimum. But if you do put your investment in diverse areas, then that will be good. You must acquire technologies or broaden your product lines. That is another recommendation that we have. No? You must, if possible, acquire brands or boost your brands by way of the influencers or by actually using the media which is China is using. And of course, you must acquire resources or you must reinvest your resources into the business. Next slide, please. Now, there are partnerships which now strengthen various Chinese business organizations. We signed several MOUs on investment promotion, which is between the BOI and the Bank of China. The MOU on economic and trade cooperation, which is between the DTI and CABC, which is the new energy and battery applications, which is CIAPS, EVAP, and PNIA. The China Building Materials Federation and between the China Concrete Products Association, the MOU on digital construction. The China Bicycle Association is another organization which is helping us, as well as the joint projects with Chinese government and business organizations, which is the CCPIT, the CCOIC, and other provincial branches of these organizations. Next, please. Now, besides the RCEP, we are looking at only online export promotions for this year, and also the promotion of investments for increasing capacities and for exports. As I said, the problem really is that the Chinese want to invest or buy from the Philippines, but they cannot physically go to the Philippines and actually look at the goods or actually do their due diligence. A lot of them actually have told me once the protocols, the health protocols are better, then we will indeed visit the Philippines. We look forward to visiting the Philippines to trade or to invest in the Philippines. Next slide, please. In terms of exports, the PTICs in China will engage on both online and hybrid events. I'll explain what this means. Usually we have the offline events, which is actually on the ground. But since no one is allowed to enter China without doing the 22 day mandatory quarantine, so we are now actually doing the online hybrid events, which is you stay online in the Philippines, and the posts of DTI, which is DTI personnel stationed in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Guangzhou, even in Hong Kong, we physically represent you at the fairs. And when that is happening, we facilitate the trade and investment questions which the Chinese trade visitors have during the events. Now, we also have online country store projects, which is in Tmall and in Jingdong. These are mainstreaming projects which we hope we can do, especially if we do have merchant protection through IP registration. Now, we also have plans for investments for rebuild, increasing capacities, pursue major leads, online sessions like these webinars, online and hybrid participation through CFIT, and of course the TNK projects, which is Trabaho Negosyo, Kabuhayan projects, which we do for our Filipino overseas workers in China and in Hong Kong. Next slide, please. Okay, this is RCEP. I think it was adequately discussed earlier. Next, please. Okay. There are several major fairs in China, which I think poses a lot of opportunities, and I think these the ones that we have to participate on. And this is the China. One of these is about services, no? And this is about the China International Fair for Trade and Services. We participated last time in 2020. This was happening in 4 to 9 September 2020, and it's held annually in Beijing. We had an online booth which has actually awarded one of the 50, one of the top 2 among the overseas clouds exhibitions with 4,312 views, no? And we had 50 excellent booths out of 5,176 online booths. And there were 20 Philippine exhibitors who participated. And for us, we judge that participation to be a very good resounding success. Now that's for services. Next slide, please. Now, we also participated in what we call the Guangzhou World Agricultural Expo. This was located in Guangzhou in 2020. Again, As you can see, we had several participants from the Philippines. They were online. We managed to get them actually orders. They managed actually to meet with buyers, no. And to us, it was one of the more successful events that we attended because there were actually orders, and from what we understand, there were other orders after that as well. Next one, please. Now, um, in 12 to 16 of August this year, we will be participating at the Hong Kong Trade Development Council Food Expo in 2021. We have our lookbook online already, and that we will be having a booth in this is in Hong Kong, and then this one will be ably manned by our commercial attaché, Attorney Bobby Mabalot, and this will be happening in August 12 to 16. For details of this, we will give you later our contact details. Next, please. Now, this last year we attended in the China ASEAN Expo, which is the Ka Expo 2020. It happened in November 25 to December 1 in Nanning, Guangxi province in China. Now, we had several activities there. We had four participants who had actually branches in China who were allowed to sell their products. I would describe the China ASEAN Expo as one of the biggest changi in China, and the biggest test markets that Philippine companies can avail of. Why is it important for us to attend this? This is because if you have a new product and you want to see if it is acceptable to the Chinese, you bring your product to this fair and have it tested there. It is a selling fair. It is a business to B2C selling event. You may or may not get buyers, big buyers or importers, but what is important is that you get the confidence to attend and to see that your products are selling in China. Okay, and that is the important takeaway for this participation. Next one, please. Now, we have one was this is called the China International Import Expo. It's a big, one of the biggest import expo of China, supported by the MOFCOM. It happens during 5 to 10 November without fail, and it happens in Shanghai. This will be our third year of participation, if ever. Sales reported in 2018, no, sorry, this will be the fourth. Sales reported in 2018 was $124 million. In 2019, it was $390 million. In 2020, we managed to sell $462 million worth of goods. Now, in 2020, we had only 40 virtual exhibitors. Again, the same. They were online when we were on site. So again, it's important that you be in this, that we continue attending these fairs, that we continue selling to China, that it is possible actually to be in the Philippines and still sell online and still be able to sell to the Chinese market. Next one, please. Now, there's another project which my colleagues in Shanghai are undertaking. This is called the Connecting MSMEs via maintaining mainstreaming initiatives, and this involves HemaFresh. HemaFresh is actually one of the biggest supermarkets in China, and what they do is that they develop products where there are no facilities in their areas of responsibility. HEMA comes in and starts developing a processing facility, and then HEMA brings these products to China to access its 1.2 billion market. Now, as I said, these are still work in progress. In fact, we are already preparing for our proposed products such as processed pili and pili-based food products, tropical food-based snacks, and various coconut-based processed food and snacks including coconut water. Next, please. Now, for investments, we are actually the guest country of honor for both 20 and 2021 at the China International Fair for Investments and Trade. This is again, like CIIE, the biggest fair for investments in China. And this happens at between 8 to 10 of September. It is an annual event in Xiamen, Fujian province, south of China. So as you can see, this is the place to be for investments because our pavilion received 4,000 visitors and that we had generated 209 investment leads, which are validated by the proponents themselves. Next one, please. Okay, we are proud to say that in our pursuit for trade and investment projects, especially for investments, 22 projects have been green lighted and are now in the Philippines, while 32 projects are awaiting due diligence, meaning they are waiting for the time that the Philippines opens up its borders and that the quarantine protocols of both countries are relaxed so that they can go to the Philippines and conduct due diligence and hopefully they can actually invest in the Philippines. And these are the breakdowns of the various projects that they are interested in. Next one, please. Okay, for TNK, which is Trabaho, Negosyo at Kabuhayan, we note that there are 270,000 Filipino overseas workers in Hong Kong, and there are 241,000 in Shanghai, 7,000 in Guangzhou, 241,000 in Hong Kong and in Macau, 7,000 in Shanghai, 3,000 in Guangzhou, and 2,000 in Beijing, for a total of 270,000 Filipinos working in China. And we conducted a survey last year, and they were very much interested in doing agribusiness interest. What is their interest? They have the money. They cannot go back to the Philippines because they want to continue doing their jobs. So they have capital on their end. So they want to find out, okay, we want to do small business. How to do it properly. Because sometimes they just toss the money to their relatives in the Philippines. It's either consumed by their family or they go into business like tricycle, but everyone is into tricycle. So the investment is not sound. So if they know the business, they know that okay, we can go into agribusiness. They know how to go about the business, how to effectively and efficiently do the business. Then their interest to learn is in there, and that is where they are asking that we conduct the TNK seminars on. Now we have already disseminated some agribusiness portfolios, specifically on the various DA loan packages that are available. There are 10K sessions already happening with the DA and the Econ team in monthly actually there is schedules for monthly sessions in Hong Kong and Macau from March to December 2021. Of course, this is open to the mainland Filipinos in the mainland China, and we hope that there will be also IP trainings for OFIs in the first quarter of 2021. Next, please. Now, there is a support to policy programs. We support the 29th JCETC, which is the Joint Commission on Economic and Trade Cooperation, for a possible bilateral FTA. We are already a member of the ASEAN FTA with China, but of course there is no problem if we do engage in another FTA directly with China, so that we can actually have the benefits attached to such an FTA. Next, please. Okay, so in closing, we would like to ask the exporters to to continue working with us in developing the China exports. That if you do have plans and engagements with China, please plan and engage us so that we can assist you in your various engagements. We do use WeChat, so we have the various QR codes. If you will do any business with China, I suggest that you download the WeChat app, and that this becomes your portal to the Chinese market. With that, I would like to close my presentation and say thank you very much for listening, and mabuhay po kayo. Salamat.